Good morning, Messiah. I'm Tia Munson. I'm the Worship and Music Coordinator at Messiah Lutheran Church. Today's lectionary reading is from Romans 8, verses 18 through 24, and I'm reading from the Message version of the Bible. That's why I don't think there's any comparison between the present hard times and the coming good times. The created world itself can hardly wait for what's coming next. Everything in creation is being more or less held back. God reins it in until both creation and all the creatures are ready and can be released at the same moment into the glorious times ahead. Meanwhile, the joyful anticipation deepens. All around us we observe a pregnant creation. The difficult times of pain throughout the world are simply birth pains. But it's not only around us, it's within us. The Spirit of God is arousing us within. We're also feeling the birth pains. These sterile and barren bodies of ours are yearning for full deliverance. That is why waiting does not diminish us, any more than waiting diminishes a pregnant mother. We are enlarged in the waiting. We, of course, don't see what is enlarging us, but the longer we wait, the larger we become, and the more joyful our expectancy. So, it's been really hard this week to focus on anything other than COVID and the racial injustice that's going on throughout our country. So what hit me really hard in this verse was difficult times of pain, which is kind of where we're at. So I tried to find something that brought me some peace and some comfort, and it is a prayer written by Thomas Dorsey. So I'm going to read to you the prayer first, then I'm going to read to you a little bit of a book about the friendship between Martin Luther King Jr. and Mahalia Jackson. And then I'm going to attach a version of the prayer that Mahalia sung at Martin Luther King Jr.'s funeral. So here's the prayer. Precious Lord, take my hand. Lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When my way grows drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my light is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call. Hold my hand, lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When the darkness appears, and the night draws near, and the day is past and gone, at the river I stand, guide my feet, hold my hand. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. So that prayer is beautiful, the words, and I'm going to read to you a little bit. The name of this book is Martin and Mahalia. It's from Tracy, thank you. I'm just going to read to you a little bit about their relationship, and then you can follow the link to listen to her sing that beautiful prayer. The friendship between Martin Luther King Jr. and Mahalia Jackson is one underscored by the collective influence of their voices. Martin and Mahalia articulated hope at a time when Americans were eager for social change. Music played an important role in the civil rights movement, and it was Mahalia Jackson's full-bodied contralto that propelled the movement forward. Mahalia, known as the Queen of Gospel, helped bring gospel singing and spirituals to mainstream audiences, increasing the appeal of this type of music traditionally sung in churches. In 1950, Mahalia was invited to perform at Carnegie Hall. About Mahalia's singing, Martin Luther King Jr. said that a voice like hers comes along once in a millennium. Other notables and dignitaries agreed. Mahalia sang for 4 presidents: Harry S. Truman, Dwight D. Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, and Lyndon B. Johnson. President Kennedy ensured that Mahalia was invited to sing at his inaugural gala on January 19, 1961. That same year, President Kennedy asked Martin to join him for a meal at the White House, where Martin told the president about his hope for racial equality. When it was time for the March on Washington for jobs and freedom, Mahalia had already gained the recognition and respect of many. The March on Washington was one of the largest public demonstrations in the history of American civil rights. The organizers of the march summoned thousands of people together with an eye toward reaching very specific goals. They wanted to force Congress to bring about change by embracing President Kennedy's civil rights legislation. This included the integration of all public schools, job training, and placement for all unemployed workers, a law preventing job and housing discrimination, and fair voting practices. As the march was being planned, President Kennedy advised Martin and other civil rights leaders to call it off. He was afraid it would lead to violence. Before Mahalia sang and Martin delivered his speech at the March on Washington, several notable entertainers led the crowd. The event included musical performances by singers Marian Anderson, Joan Baez, and Bob Dylan. Actor Charlton Heston represented a contingent of artists including Harry Belafonte, Marlon Brando, Diane Carroll, Ozzie Davis, Sammy Davis Jr., Lena Horne, Paul Newman, and Sidney Poitier. There were also speakers who preceded Martin, including most of the Big Six, some of the most influential civil rights leaders who helped Martin organize the march. In addition to Martin, the Big Six included John Lewis, A. Philip Randolph, Roy Wilkins, and Whitney Young. James Farmer, who was in a Louisiana prison at the time, had his speech read by Floyd McKissick, leader of the Congress of Racial Equality. While Mahalia and other notable female singers brought their music to the march, some women supported the march by standing up for justice. Actress and activist Josephine Baker and freedom fighters Daisy Bates and Rosa Parks were among them. The March on Washington turned out to be one of the most defining moments of civil rights history. Sadly, Martin didn't live to see his dream fully realized. In 1968, Mahalia Jackson sang "Take My Hand, Precious Lord" at Dr. King's funeral after he was assassinated. She delivered the spiritual with the soul-rousing emotion of a true friend. 4 years later, when Mahalia Jackson passed away after suffering heart failure, Martin's wife, Mrs. Coretta Scott King, delivered a eulogy at Mahalia's funeral. She praised Mahalia for being Black and proud and beautiful. It was Mahalia's singing coupled with Martin's powerful oratory that gave Americans reasons to embrace justice and rejoice in the beauty of racial unity. I hope you enjoy the following song.